The S5 II and the S5 iix are both pretty incredible cameras, but they both just got a little bit better with a new firmware update. I have the S5 II, but the firmware basically does essentially the same things. So we've got a few things here, one or two of which are pretty huge for certain types of people. So the first thing Panasonic mentions is adding an autofocus point scope. This essentially is going to, in photography I believe, let you enlarge the video while in autofocus mode, I believe, something along those lines. One of the big things for me though is the improved high resolution mode. So if you own the GH6, you know that the high resolution mode is handheld and really amazing, super fun. And now that handheld feature has come to the S5 II and S5 iix. The tripod version has also been improved, letting you have 8-second long exposures, but the big thing here is creating those huge 96 megapixel stills handheld. So essentially, if you haven't used this feature before, you need to go into your photo mode, switch the dial on top, and then set the high resolution mode to on. This is going to allow you to take a bunch of pictures right in a row, and the camera stitches them together, even in RAW, right in your camera to give you a huge file. So this does have some limitations. It's a little difficult to use at really long focal lengths. I think like 100 or especially 150, 200 millimeters out, it's going to be hard to be stable enough for that picture to, be stable enough to stitch them all together. And then anything with motion, like people, cars, water, things in the frame that are moving, or even if your frame is moving too much, it's either going to create smudgy images or just fail to create them outright. But if you have a nice building or a landscape or something along those lines, it works really, really well. And this is real noticeable image quality improvements. Like this tree, it's pretty easy to tell, but going to this leaf on the ground, the 24 megapixel just has vague suggestions of texture in the leaf, where the 96 megapixel, you can actually see each detail. And I think the biggest one is this sticker on this signpost, where there's clearly some kind of pattern on these characters, but when you switch to high resolution mode, you can see it's actually sort of like a digital circuit board type effect, whereas in the original, it's just the detail isn't there. Personally, I'm always going to be leaving on this simultaneous shot as well, where even if that 96 megapixel mode fails, you've still got a 24 megapixel normal version to back you up just in case it fails and you can't really tell on the back screen. Speaking of the back screen and reviewing your photos and things like that, kind of a sticking point for people recently is the lack of a punch-in focus. On the GH6 forward, we've sort of had a version of that only goes into 6 times. Well, we did get the ability to do that while recording video, but the photographers out there, especially ones that use manual focus lenses or do macro photography, really wish that 20 times magnification would return to the cameras. And now that is something Panasonic has implemented on these two cameras. If you go to the gear icon and go down to manual focus assist, you're going to see the ability to enable a 20 times magnification. There seems to be some limitations with a 20 times magnification versus the 6 times magnification, and this does only work in photo mode, but still, the ability to punch in 20 times is super huge, and I know a bunch of people are going to be super happy about that. And, cue the people saying, when is this coming to the GH6 and the G9 Mark II? Well, hopefully soon. The fourth thing Panasonic talked about was a few performance things, just making switching between your EVF and your screen a little bit faster, and just stability and normal update things. So if you guys find any under the hood things that are categorized in that, performance improvements thing, definitely let me know down in the comments below. I would be very curious to hear if there's been anything tweaked under the surface. They say they don't do that, and I don't think I've noticed too much in the past where they've changed something behind the scenes that didn't mention it. If it's been changed, the vast majority of the time, I believe it really is in those change logs with the update. But anyway, I just wanted to get my quick thoughts out there. It's really good to see Panasonic supporting these cameras, their full-frame cameras and their Micro Four Thirds cameras. I mean, we just got an update with the GH6 not that long ago, which made it a lot better for shooting RAW, and I hope they continue to update that camera and the G9 Mark II up until the GH7 or whatever in Micro Four Thirds comes out next. And I really do appreciate you guys coming by and checking this update video out. At this point, you should probably know how to update your camera, but there's a lot of great videos out there for that. You just go to the Panasonic website, download the newest firmware. The vast majority of the time, you can skip from, 2 or 3 firmwares ago all the way up to the new one. If not, it will say specifically that you have to download a certain firmware first. Open up that bin file, drag it onto the base folder of your memory card, load it onto your camera, and you're good to go. Here's a link to some video of someone explaining that.